Call this meeting to order. Any correspondence?
Just
Okay, we got that. Well, yeah. Well, Dale?
Yes.
Before we go into approving the agenda or the minutes, on action items, we have to add two.
All right.
4.2 is the second reading of the policies to approve them.
Okay.
And sadly, 4.3 is accepting the resignation from Renee Price for retirement at the end of the school year. But she does say that she would be a part-time if she could be any assistance.
Oh, cool, good.
Yeah, so, yeah, so those are the two additions. So do I have an approval for the agenda with the added items?
I move that we approve the agenda with the additions.
Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion, a second. Any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, has everyone looked over the October minutes? I know we were all sadly disappointed when last month's meeting got canceled, but though as cold as it was today, it was like, oh, we could have come last month and done this one.
Yeah. I move we approve the minutes as presented.
I have a motion to approve the October minutes.
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. And now we have the budget committee budget committee appointment for the Paisley School District 11 to be added. Who is that person? I saw it in here.
Becky Hatfield Hyde.
Okay.
I will move that we approve Becky Hatfield Hyde.
We have a motion to accept Becky on the budget committee. Do I have a second, Dale?
Yes.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Board reports. Stephanie, anything?
I don't have anything.
No?
Quiet.
Quiet? Okay, well, anything on your end, Dale?
Not really, no.
Quiet in Paisley?
Yeah, other than trying to get some siding retrofit done. But other than that, everything's really quiet. So,
Yeah, have you been part of that, Dale, and kind of watched what's going on there?
yeah, kind of.
That scares me to death of anybody ever getting one of those things.
Oh, God. It's just that everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. But hopefully we're going to get through it here pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm just amazed that. Yeah, I'm just amazed by it because it just it was nothing like I would have anticipated it being. So
It just went out of control for some reason. But
yeah,
hopefully it's going to be good.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, financial report.
Okay, you guys have your usual reports. I just want to make a little note on that financial summary where it shows that we've spent $16,000 less so far this year than we had at this point last year. And on the revenue, if that formula hadn't copied all the way down, it would show that we had gotten, I believe, like $48,000 more so far this year than we had gotten last.
Oh,
This
okay.
report is a little bit misleading, okay? We haven't been invoiced at all this year by the hospital for the contracted SLP services. I called them about that today, and it sounds like the person who had been in charge of billing last year is not there, and so they're...
Renault.
Yeah, so they'll be sending us a bill hopefully soon, but also some of the billing from the school districts in the county are late as well. The new accounting system has been a hurdle for all of us, and billing has kind of gotten set aside as far as priorities. So between the hospital and the flow through on the special ed teacher, I would anticipate that there's probably $50,000 about that we should have been billed for so far this year. And there may be some other services out there that we may also have bills for, but those are the two major ones. So when you look at this report, just know that all the bills haven't come in yet. Or,
Do you happen to know the hospital's budget year?
their budget year. I don't know if it's a calendar or if it's a, as far as you mean, whether it ends December 31st or,
Yeah,
I have
I
no
don't know.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think they would have,
Yeah,
It's-
figured
No,
something
'cause,
out.
I mean, look at Head Start, they didn't pay for the, or bill the ESD for a couple of years for the conference room. I noticed it one year when our gal retired, and I said, why haven't you, because they did it there, I never saw it. Then I realized it and called, nope, and then
Mhm.
I thought, well, okay, I corrected it one year, and then I thought after that, you're on your own, and it's been 2 years, yeah, 2 years they never built, so.
And I corrected
It
it a
is,
year
yeah.
also and all of that.
It's
But
something
that-
unusual, they haven't been as part of the regular hospitals, yeah.
Yeah,
Billing,
see, but
so.
with that, it was like $500. This is,
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
thousands, yeah, you would think,
$11,000
but I mean, I know how that can
But
slip through if it's
exactly.
not a
yeah.
normal month to month at the hospital.
And they've got a lot
Billing,
going on.
yeah,
They've
they
got
have a lot.
of money. 11,000 sounds like a lot to us,
Yeah.
but you know, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and that's just a position, yeah, something that they just kind of
Mhm.
knew, and so.
Yeah, and I think our contract with them is probably a little bit abnormal, so that,
Yeah.
you know, it's not part of a routine thing.
Yeah,
So.
once they start it, they'll remember it.
Yeah, yeah, undoubtedly.
Any questions, Dale?
No, I'm good. Thank
Oh,
you.
hey. Wow, okay.
Fine with me.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay, well, I got a long report, so I'm gonna try to make it as quick as I can.
You have 10 minutes.
I have 10 minutes? Okay.
Whew, we're going for 7:30, no.
Yeah. Dale's not here, so you're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
break his record, huh?
7:45 minute,
Yeah.
was my,
right.
Dale, now we're going for 30, no.
Okay.
Kidding.
So this last month, I had quite a few different meetings, different things going on. I went to the Oregon Law Conference for Education, which was very enlightening, it always is every year. One of the things that Oregon Association of ESDs, one of the things that they are working on is the state has allocated $6.2 million to assist school districts with chronic absenteeism. They approached the Oregon Association of ESDs to assist with that, which is exactly what we're wanting to do as an organization of ESDs, saying, hey, wait a minute, come look at us. Don't direct all our school districts what to do. Come to us and we'll go to our school districts and we'll be that in between. So they have created a proposal to the state requesting the full $6.2 million to assist with chronic absenteeism. In this, we're basically looking at a 3-tiered system, and in that 3-tiered system, there'll be an intensive interventions with the top 20 schools, and then we're wanting to go down to 50 schools. The state wants to go to 30 schools. So we proposed both, but we would like to go down to 50 different schools. But in that, of the top 20, and yeah, I didn't give you my copies of things. You guys, sorry about that. In the top 20, the only Lake County school that is in there is North Lake.
now this, in other words, top 20 for the most absence.
For the most absenteeism,
Okay.
yeah, the most absenteeism. And so if you look up at the top of this, at the little bar graphs there, you can see the
Wow.
third one down is North Lake. And they are third in the state
Wow.
for the most absenteeism.
Wow.
Now, you think, wow, that's just, oh my goodness, that's terrible, that's, what could be going on there? Now, this is for the 15-16 school year, because that's when they had the data. But if you look over there to the far right, they had a 90% graduation rate. So how can you have a 37% absenteeism rate and a 90% graduation rate? So we think there's some numbers in there. We think there's some things that are not quite right because, I talked to David Kerr and he said, yeah, they struggle with absenteeism. That's, that is an issue and they would love some assistance. and working with that. But, and if you look at the building, is Union School District, has the highest absenteeism rate of 46%, but yet they have a 97%
Right.
graduation rate. So it's kind of like, we have contradictory information here. You know, we've got large absenteeism, but yet fantastic graduation rates, so.
Well, and the next one down, Mitchell, adjusted cohort 192.
Right, and they have a 13%.
13%.
Yeah.
But see, they have that, they have an online school that counts as part of their population. And
Because-
notoriously, online schools have very poor.
Yeah.
Did
Because
they
last time we
take
were there was
attendance?
less than 40 kids in their high school. They had a dormitory so that they could keep it.
Right, right.
But there isn't even 192 kids in the K through 12.
No, but
So
back
it's
when,
online.
in 15, 16, they had an online school that they were in charge of. And so that's where they got their numbers from.
Well,
And then-
Union School District is in Union County.
Mhm. Yeah,
I wonder why they have such a huge.
well, I'm thinking it's probably because they had like 5 kids. Or,
Okay.
well, no, they'd have to have more than that, because if you lost 1 out of 5, you'd be all the way down. Your
Yeah.
percentage wouldn't be there. So I mean, I'm guessing they had 1 student that didn't graduate.
Yes, Suntech's very small
Whatever.
school.
But yeah, their
Yes.
rate is high.
Students included, so is that,
That's the enrollment?
Students included, that's the number of students, I think, within the district.
in the district, okay,
Right.
and then
And
what's,
regular attending, so they had 176 students that were regular attenders. And that was 56% of their students were regular attenders. They had 136 that were chronic absentee, which equates to 43% of their chronic
Wow.
absenteeism percent was 43%. So when you look at North Lake, they had 127 regular attenders and they had 75 chronic
You know,
chronic absentees.
Salem and Kaiser down here on the red line, they're the, what is that, the 10th, I guess?
Mhm.
They have a lot of students high, and they're only at 27.9, but their
That's a
graduation rate
lot.
is 71%. That's horrible.
It's a state average.
Some are worse.
I think this last year was 70%. which is-
Arlington, yeah, at 22%. Arlington was one of the few schools many years ago, 12 years ago, let's say, that actually was making more money from local taxes.
They are still that way.
Yeah,
They
because
do
of
not.
wind farms,
Well, they don't accept any money from the state.
yeah.
And its reason is the wind farms, and then also, they have the garbage dump for Portland. And so they have all the monies that coming for the trash and the taxes and stuff that they put on all that trash that Portland brings down by the truckload. So yeah, they don't get, they don't have any state funding that they accept.
South Harney, Harney isn't that big.
So,
Why did they split it?
I'm not sure.
South Harney's,
Hmm?
do you have an extra?
Oh, I'm sorry.
they're
Yes.
one of those very small districts.
Oh,
I was gonna say 11 kids.
Yeah.
So,
That's their-
but anyway, where I'm going with this is that the ESDs are looking to be the facilitator towards being able to assist school districts in helping them out with their absenteeism. What exactly that's gonna look like, I'm not sure yet. I think they're looking at, with $6.2 million, I think they're looking at adding in staff. People that will be able to check in with kids, check in with kids' attendance or what their grades are doing, and, like, oh, welcome, Stephanie, glad to have you here this morning, okay, glad to see you, now, tomorrow I'm gonna see you, right? Have that check in, check out kind of thing with kids and stuff, so.
ESDs used to do the truancy officer.
Yeah.
I was it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I thought there was a shift toward law enforcement because it's a law. Klamath County had, that was, I don't know, 10 years ago, there was a big push and they were gonna,
there still is, it's still a law,
yeah.
and it's still an issue. The issue that I had with that was the time you start to send a letter to those parents, and then you send another letter to those parents, by the time you get to that second letter, most often, at least in my experience, those people are not, they're transient people, and they're up and leave.
Or
They go somewhere else,
they go to homeschooling.
or they do homeschooling.
Yeah,
Right.
which-
So it's, yeah, it's difficult to get that to work. Not, not always, but that's just been my experience. It's
Will there be
tough.
some focus on the parents? Because a lot of this, I'd say 90% of it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Interesting.
So,
It's
Very
very interesting, yeah.
and if anybody wants to see the entire 190, I have the whole, if you guys want, just for fun, you're welcome to look at that.
Oh, what's the
So-
significance of the pink highlight in the middle?
The pink highlight would be, those are the ones that we felt were that was where we cut it off as far as being, trying to assist. The state wants to do the top 30, and then we kind of saw that, we wanted to continue on down. And those were just kind of, that was part of our discussion, how far down do we go? And we actually went down to the top 50. But, I'm sorry, would you hand that to Jim? Or Mike, excuse me. I'm gonna call you that forever now. So anyway, they're working on that, so. Some of the legal things that are going on with the legislature and COSA is, I had some meetings this last couple of months, and they're looking at what they can do. COSA wants to be able to present things to the legislature as far as needs within the districts, within the state. And their top 4 priorities right now are creating legislation. The first one is surrounding funding equity for Focused School Improvement Fund. So basically looking at the funding equity for schools, and schools being able to have similar type of programs, and recognizing that this school being a smaller school, this school being a larger school, we may need to funnel more money into the smaller school so that they can offer both, wood shop and mechanics, because it's all about STEM, And so they're looking at coming up with some type of legislation that creates that equity between schools, so that just because you're a rural school or a small school doesn't mean that your kids have to go without certain types of education. So,
Isn't that the argument behind how they fund us in the first place, though? Why
yes,
all of our property taxes go to Salem and then get doled back out?
yeah, there's that already, but
Yeah.
there needs to be even more.
Yeah, I'm clearly, but
Yeah,
isn't there gonna be a
And
little
that's why they're-
pushback from those bigger schools?
do you think? But hey, you throw it out there
I
and
was
see if
gonna
it
say,
sticks,
Nothing
so.
ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah, that's
but-
right. One of the other issues, well, the thing of it is, you also have to remember is that, of 190 districts in the state, 75% of those are small schools. So you got a 75% vote saying, no, we need to do with this, and the 25% of the large schools they only have a 25% vote, so we'll see. The next one they're working on is creating an equity-focused professional learning work group. Basically looking at cultural things, equitable things that are going on between schools. This is mainly the large school districts, to where, Jefferson High School in Portland gets the same as David Douglas School District, and that, that they get the same kind of cultural programs and those kinds of things amongst those larger districts. It doesn't really affect us because we have one high school, so.
What do you mean by cultural programs?
Well, I guess it would be looking at not cultural programs, but the culture, the ethnicity and the cultures within the buildings.
Okay.
And so you have maybe a school in North Portland that's primarily African American, and you have another school over here that may be primarily Hispanic, and are their programs the same? Do the kids get the same kind of education? From what I understand of what people are saying, is there's quite a bit of disparity between the high schools in Portland and there are some real, I guess, ethnic pockets. The school will have a large population of one ethnic group, and there's some real disparity there within the high schools. So,
Okay.
again, I don't see it because every place I've ever been basically has one high school, so.
Right.
Um, The other one is the health partnerships. And they want to work with, they call it coordinated care organizations, to develop relationships with school districts to provide care and support for student needs. So this is really looking at the mental health part of with kids and parents and families and those kinds of things, and coordinating with your health districts and those kinds of things. We do a great job of that. We have constant communication with our health district. I don't know how many different meetings that we have with them and those kinds of things. And so we do a very good job. That's not the way it is everywhere in the state. Most of the places around the state, there's very little communication going on there. So, and then the last one that they're looking at is Oregon's education workforce. And that is the group that I'm going to be part of. And they are going to be looking at entertaining alternative pathways or programs for teacher certification, grow your own programs and internship programs and those types of things. Just trying to find out a way. One of the things they're really pushing right now is STEM. Okay, so we've got, so for example, Jim or John, you've been a welder your whole life, and now you're retired, and you've got all this knowledge, but you don't have a teaching degree and you don't have the college background to be able to go into TSPC, but yet you've got this wealth of knowledge. How do we as a school district come to you, and how do we tap into you and say, John, we'd love it if you would teach one welding class a day. Could you do that? And you would say, yeah, that'd be great. I'm kind of bored being retired. That'd be fun, to be with the kids. How do we license you? How do we, what do we need? Because you're not gonna go back to school and take a 2-year program to get your master's degree or whatever. It's not gonna happen. So we've got to come up with some alternative certificates, because there is such a push for the STEM.
Especially in rural areas
oh,
with small schools.
Yeah, we've got such expertise in these, in our community here, but we can't access them because they don't have the licensures. So how do we get these good people that have the knowledge, that are perfectly capable of working with kids, how do we get them in there? And that's what we're gonna be working on, trying to come up with some legislation to be able to get those people in there, so.
Is it limited to,
STEM,
well, or what's the other? Vocational. Yeah, vocational.
vocational type of thing? No, no, we're looking at all.
Because we have, we did struggle with getting subs.
Right,
And part of it is
Right.
they have to keep their licensure up
Mhm.
at the top, and
that is already started.
oh, good.
When I was in the Willamette Valley, in the Willamette School, or Willamette ESD's district, they have started a program that if you have a bachelor's degree in anything, that if you come into them, sign up, go through the background check, and you do an 8-hour course with them, that TSPC will give you a, it's called a restricted substitute license. And so basically, you have to be approved by the district.
Right.
So if I'm a principal or superintendent of a school district, they would say, is Stephanie has completed our program, are you willing to allow her to sub in your district? And if I said yes, you're given a restricted substitute license to be able to sub in our district only. Okay?
And the district does the 8-hour course?
Well, right now, the Willamette ESD is the one doing the course. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so,
Will that be included then in your,
it will definitely be talked about,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's already in place, so there really doesn't have to be any legislation over it or anything, it's already happening.
at
But
Willamette?
it's, yeah, Willamette, but
Yeah.
we could start it here. I've only been here 4 months, so I haven't done that yet.
Well,
But
I'll bet
it's,
District 7 would sure.
Oh,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
all of our
Absolutely.
little,
Yeah.
that's a huge need.
it is a huge need, and it is, so there's a way of getting there. And hopefully
Great.
we'll be able to get to that point here soon. Standalone policies, we're not creating groups or anything like that to go through these legislative stuff, but on the back, There are some policies, these are all things COSA is going to be pushing in this next legislative session. And so if you want to read through those, I won't take the time to go through those. Well, I'll just go through for Dale, just for your quick thing. The first one is, in the Willamette Promise and the Eastern Promise, where the kids are getting college credit within the high schools, some of the colleges are tainting those credits by putting an asterisk next to them or something of this nature on their college transcripts. And so they're not giving them the same value, or even like saying, well, that's great, you took Writing 121, but you did it through Willamette Promise, so you still have to take 121 through us. But we'll give you credit for that as an elective.
Oh.
And so they're going to legislation and saying, no, this is,
That's not right.
It was, because the Willamette Promise and the Eastern Promise, those programs, they're using college curriculum and they're using the tests that the college has developed. It's like, we passed your college test and now you're tainting telling me my grade doesn't count. So that's a huge issue. And then the second issue is the high school diploma and the graduation requirements. It hasn't been looked at in about the last 10 or so years. So they're just wanting to go back through and relook at the graduation requirements and see if there's any changes that need to be done. The next one that's going to be an issue is coming up in the 18-19 school year. The state is saying that 92% of students have to be fully scheduled within your schools. So that's going to do away with your seniors that have early release for, job, work study, those kinds of things. The senior that all I need 2 classes, so okay, I'm gonna show up at 9 o'clock because that's when my first class starts. I'm not gonna come at 7:30 for the first class because I don't need a class. That we've been doing for decades.
Right.
That they wanna do away with that.
Can they, if they
Is that the
have all their credits,
legislature?
can they do the online at the colleges here
They can.
and to make that part of their full class?
Yeah,
That's
but they're just
awesome,
they're wanting the seniors to be fully
Yeah. There goes the
scheduled
time.
all day
They're
long.
changing the deal.
I know, that's why we're fighting against it. That's
Yeah.
That's why we're arguing, saying that's not the way it should be worked, so.
Kids worked hard 9 through 11 to be able to do that.
Little break before they go 4 or 6 years of college, so
My
yeah.
youngest daughter, she is a senior, she needed 1 class. She passed all of her classes and took extras and so.
Well, and the schools don't have things to offer. There's
Right.
nothing to fill that schedule
Especially a
with.
small.
Right. And that's where work study and stuff like that always came in.
Yep.
Is because the kid was like, you could get kind of an internship, or you could just, I senior year, I didn't go my last period of the day and I went to work at the grocery store and made
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, that would not be good.
So, the last one that they're gonna do is the Quality Education Model Commission. When they did the Quality Education Model report, what was that, 15 years ago? They were talking about this, to be a quality educational model for a school, this is what you need to do. This is how many kids need to be in a classroom, this is what the school size needs to be, there's a whole litany of things that need to be in that. And the state has actually commissioned that, but they've never acknowledged it. They've never been able to afford to provide a quality education model education. So, and the COSA has always pushed because we're saying we need the money to do this, we need the money to do this, we need the money to do this. So they've decided, let's shut our mouths about the money and let's just make it about the program. We need this program, this is where we need to be. This is what we need to be doing for kids. Do you disagree with this is what we need to be doing for kids? Okay, you agree, great, we need to be doing this for kids. And never mention the term money. And see if we can get them to agree that yes, this is what we need to be doing for kids, and let them figure out the money.
Right.
So we'll see. So I took takeaways from the law conference. The top 6 legal issues that I found that were coming up. It's in the US Supreme Court right now, requiring the fair share fees for non-union members. Teachers right now, if there's a teachers union in a school, and I am a teacher and I do not want to be part of that union, I don't have to be, but I still have to pay union dues. It's called fair share. Because the premise behind it is, you know, the union negotiated the contract and I'm benefiting from it. So I still should have to pay union dues. So it's before the Supreme Court right now to determine whether that's legal or not legal. It's been happening for, well, I've been in education for over, for 30 years and it's been happening. So it's going to them. It's supposed to be presented in the first of the year, and then we'll get a final term or determination in June, is what I understand. So we'll find out later on. The transgender issue is still hot and heavy in what's going on. I don't know if you remember, there was a lawsuit where a transgender family in Dallas, Oregon sued and said my transgender child should be able to go into my a female who wants to be a male. My child should have access to the male locker room and to the male bathroom. And so everybody has changed, and if you're a transgender, you can go into that sex's whatever sex you identify with, you get to go into that bathroom and that locker room. Well, the crazy thing about this is the mother of this same transgender child who has another child is now suing, saying that their non-transgender child's rights are being infringed upon because the transgender child is coming into the bathroom with my non-transgender child. So now the non-transgender people are suing, but the crazy thing, it's the mom of the transgender that started this whole thing. I mean, this is national. And the mom is the one doing the suing and stuff, so I'm just so glad I'm not part of Dallas.
Before that, yeah.
I'm just so glad I'm not part of Dallas School District
Wow,
because
it's
those poor folks are, oh,
Is the girl that's transgender, has she had the surgery?
no, she has not, or he has not, excuse me. Yeah, biologically female, but identifies as a male. Sometimes, John, it's best just to not say anything.
Yeah.
You're on camera.
You're on camera.
Yeah, I've thought about this.
Yeah.
My thing is without the surgery, a woman pretty much is gonna have to go into a bathroom stall. So nobody can see, Pre-operative, the guy going into the ladies' restroom, there is no stand-up urinal, so he's gonna have to go into a stall. So there's really not gonna be that much visible, but I imagine there's other things that go on.
Right.
But yeah, wow.
So we're waiting to
It's just,
see,
wow.
we're waiting to see where that all plays out with the Dallas lawsuit. So,
Isn't it also illegal to have a specified separate bathroom for the transgender to
yes,
use?
yes,
Yeah,
you
'cause
can't
that's-
say,
that's-
okay, you guys use the staff bathroom.
Or,
Yeah.
or this bathroom specifically, because then that's discrimination.
That's
Right.
discrimination.
Yeah.
Separately.
Yeah.
It's baffling.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as I said, I'm waiting to see where the courts are. I mean, this has gone to where, President Obama, he sent out a letter to all schools saying this is the way things should be done. That letter and that direction has now been rescinded by President Trump. So we're really kind of out there still in la land as far as what the legalities are. And so this whole case with the Dallas School District is going to be monumental as far as where it goes, so we'll see.
I hadn't heard of this.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was rescinded.
yeah, the
Except our governor
direction,
probably didn't rescind it for Oregon.
right, yeah. The next one is the Equal Pay Equity Act that came through. It has two parts to this one. Boy, my little icon didn't show up. Got an S instead. Basically on this one is you cannot pay people of different sexes different amounts of pay for equivalent work. And so they're recommending, the legal counsel was recommending that if you have, if you're a large district or a large company to where you have multiple people doing the similar jobs of different sexes, that you do an analysis of your pay practices and what people are making, and not necessarily people have to be exactly the same, but they're within, they're close, so that if you get sued saying, because I'm a male, I'm getting paid less than Stephanie being a female, and you can say, no, we looked at this, we did an analysis of it. For us, it doesn't make any difference because we really don't have anybody in that situation. I mean, actually all three of our speech paths all three are female, and all of our other employees are single entities. So we don't have any, anything like that. The second part of that is you can no longer ask on an application how much you made in previous positions. So it used to be, okay, well,
Oh, yeah.
I worked at the grocery store, I made $12 an hour. I worked at, the gas station, I made $15 an hour, and and you put down your last 5 jobs, and you would put down how much pay you, or what your salary was. You no longer can do that. And I can understand it, because there's been times when I have been looking at applications for a classified position, and I look at a person applying, and I've looked at their previous pay, and think, my goodness, you were making, $40,000 a year, and you're willing to take a $12 an hour job now? You're kind of overqualified for what we're doing, and I'm not sure, it makes you question, there's questions about that now. And so now you can't ask that. You can't ask what they made or anything. So you can't use that as a determination when you're looking at employment with people. You have to strictly look at their application as far as what their education is, what experiences they've had, and that kind of stuff. You can't look at their pay. So.
Isn't it already illegal to pay differently?
Supposedly,
Yeah, but now we have a law about it. A
I
different
thought
law.
there already,
Yeah,
another law.
Another law.
Yeah.
So now it won't happen, now that'll make a difference.
No, I'm not saying that these things make
If they
any
would
sense
go
to
back
me.
and clear laws off the books, there wouldn't be so many stinking laws instead of just adding a new one. It's like,
Yeah.
if we did the laws we already have.
Yeah. The next one, I absolutely, I guess I understand it, but I don't understand it, and it's really frustrating for me. The next one is, school staff cannot inform anyone of investigation of a child abuse or an interview in progress on school grounds. And investigators can refuse to provide any information to school personnel related to the nature of the investigation. So DHS or the police can come in and say, we need to speak with, Johnny Smith. And okay, what's this regarding? And they can now say, well, I'm not going to tell you. And when you bring Johnny Smith to talk to said police officer or DHS worker, you no longer, as a district employee, can you tell anyone about that investigation or about that interview taking place. So you can't call mom and say, hey, just want to let you know that DHS is here talking to your child, or the police are here talking to your child, and which
We
a
weren't
double-
allowed in Head Start.
Yeah.
If they came in and did
Yeah,
it, we were
which
not
is a
allowed to call
double-edged
parents. so-
sword.
Because
And
it was.
what I have done, in,
Wow.
at least in my experience in the
Yeah.
past, is I have always asked the person that's doing the interview, okay, are you contacting the parent or am I contacting the parent? Which would you like? Because one of us is gonna contact the parent, because I'm the one that's gonna get yelled at when the kid goes home and tells mom that I just got interviewed by, Joe police officer. Mom's gonna be calling me and I'm the one that's gonna sit here and take the brunt of it. Why did this happen and why didn't you call me and why didn't you tell me? And so,
This
But now
applies only to child abuse,
no, to any investigation.
any criminal.
And-
Oh,
any
they
of it-
really turned the law around.
Yeah, if anybody, DHS or a police officer comes in to speak to a child, no district employee can tell anyone about what's going on. The other thing is, it says you can't tell anyone. So I can't even inform, when I go into the teacher's classroom, hi, I need to have Susie, can you come on out and say, and the teacher's, oh, what's, no, I'm sorry, I just need
Well,
Susie.
see, you don't know what
You
the
know.
investigation is, if it's against that
You don't.
teacher, if it's against the parents
Right.
at home, so you don't know whether calling the parents at home is gonna make it harder.
Right, and
So
that's where the double-edged sword is.
That's what's
Right.
why
Because you don't know if
DHS when you go in.
if the
Yeah.
investigation is against the parent,
Yeah,
you don't know.
so see, that's
Or
what,
somebody in the
yeah,
household.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
just shouldn't be at school.
But
That's
it-
putting those
you know.
teachers on that.
Well, yeah, but see, and the same with ours, but there is the agreement between Head Start and Early Head Start and that,
Yeah.
because when they come in, they have a right to do it during the school, we cannot call the parents, because we don't know if it's against the parents.
Right.
And so, and they don't have to inform us of why or anything
I mean, I
Um,
get not having to explain
yeah,
why, that's,
yeah.
that, but,
ongoing, but yeah. But because the only time they would come into ours though is when they wanted to get that kid before it went home.
Right,
And usually if they walked into ours, it was because they wanted to get them before they got home. So it's reasonable to say, yes, do it for the safety of the kids, so. And that would hopefully be, at least in small areas, it might be, in bigger ones, who knows? But
Yeah.
that's why they're gonna do it during school time, because that is
Yeah.
a pretty, everyone's gonna know by the end of the day anyway,
Yeah.
to walk in school and one
In
kid
a
goes
child
in.
abuse case, I can see that,
Yeah,
yeah,
but all the school law classes I took, they kind of emphasized more, the kid may have been involved in a burglary or something, and,
well, there's a lot of parents that have told me as a principal, said, you absolutely, there's not to be anybody speaking to my child without me present. If there's a police officer or
Yeah.
DHS, you may not speak to my child. And
yeah, your
now,
older kids, yeah,
and
now
now-
you can't,
I
yeah,
think, well, that's great, you can tell me that all you want, but
yeah.
trust me, when the police officer shows up and wants to talk to your child, they're gonna talk to your child, because now there's a law that
There's a
says I
law.
can't
that
tell you
is
about
a
it.
law. then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had not heard of that.
I couldn't,
Wow.
I can't tell you, so,
Is it a law now?
Mhm.
It says, okay, legal
Yeah.
issues, I didn't
It
know it was
is.
passed,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's a new law.
Okay.
Another new one that really doesn't affect us, I don't think, is the school of origin rule. For homeless children, if a homeless child moves from the one community to another community, let's say, for example, in a South Salem elementary school to a Kaiser, which is just north of Salem, elementary school. And the kid moves but wants to continue going to his school of origin, where they were attending before. Because they're homeless, the school district has to transport them to that school of origin, to give them some consistency of where they're going to school, friends, those kinds of things. And that's been a law for a long, long time when it comes to for homeless kids. They've now expanded that law for foster children, which I think is good. The foster children they're in traumatic events anyway, and they at least have a school of origin. Now, it really doesn't affect us because chances are that the law also states when feasible. So if we have a North Lake foster child here in Lake, we're not going to drive that child 2
No, it
hours,
has
that's
to
not
go,
feasible.
yeah.
And the law provides for that. So it really
Yeah.
doesn't affect anything in Lake County, but it is, it's something that maybe you guys should be aware of.
So is that why, was it you said your sister worked for DHS, is that why they're keeping the kids, you know, you said they had to stay with them during the week to get to school? Because they had to stay in the origin, school
Right.
of origin?
Yeah,
Okay.
they have to take them back to their same school, yeah.
Okay.
And the last one, which they showed some pictures and stuff, it was just unbelievable for me, the lunch shaming. It says now, the law says that the schools must only communicate with the parent or guardian if there's any issues as far as the amount of money in the child's lunch account, those kinds of things. They can no longer put a you know, pin a note to the shirt. There are some schools that have an ink stamp. They would stamp the kid's hand that said lunch money. There was they showed a picture of one kid that had Sharpie lunch money across the kid's arm.
Oh, my God.
And these kinds of things. There was schools that had given the child only a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So they go through the line, they give them the lunch, and they're, oop, sorry, John, you don't have any lunch money, you know.
Don't schools
so
all
here
get
you're
the
gonna- here you're
reimbursement
gonna-
for meals?
Well, they do, yes, but those are kids that were paying for lunch. So they weren't free and reduced students, but they were paying for their lunch.
They just
And
didn't
so
have money.
they didn't have enough money in their accounts.
Oh, gosh.
And so now they called it lunch shaming. Now they can't do that. You have to give them the same lunch as every other kid in the line. And if there's an issue with that child's lunch money, you need to contact the parent, and you cannot use the child as the go-between.
Oh, yeah,
So,
I agree, that's
yeah.
awesome.
And there were some school districts that were, they showed some pictures of pretty brutal things, and it was like, man, that, you know, as adults, sometimes we do some crazy stuff, so. Some of the laws on social media that I took note of was basically in disciplining staff or disciplining students when it comes to social media, what happens on social media has to be a substantial disruption to the classroom, okay? Or if it's a violation of FERPA, basically giving out personal information about the child. So a teacher saying, oh yeah, you know, Johnny got a B on his math test, kind of thing. Or, giving out other information, other private information about a student on social media in any way. Or if it's a substantial disruption to where, example they used was a teacher putting some things on there that were pretty inappropriate, and with, pictures of alcohol and those kinds of things, and students coming to school and then losing respect for that teacher, and all chaos and all heck breaks loose in the classroom and that kind of stuff, and nobody can learn, those kinds of things. That's a situation where you can discipline the staff member when there's a substantial disruption. Another thing they say is if the person puts something on there and it makes people either want to remove their child from your classroom, or if people are, or if students leave the school because of that teacher's social media posts, that again is a substantial disruption, and you can discipline the staff member at that point. Basically, if I have issues with that one, I'm calling the lawyer on that one, because that's more deeper than I want to go.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the marijuana in the workplace one.
I thought it was
And-
still against the federal law.
It is.
It is still a federal law. But this
crazy.
has become the most convoluted thing between the medical marijuana card, the recreational marijuana, and now they're even questioning whether it's legal to do a drug test of a new hire. A lot of school districts will just blanket, if you're gonna work in this district, you have to take a drug test. If you test positive for marijuana, sorry, we don't hire you. So now they're even challenging that, whether that's legal.
So you can't check your bus drivers if they're on medical marijuana
Bus
before
driver,
they,
bus
two
driver
lady
is
kids
different
along the
because,
highway?
the bus driver is different because it's a federal license.
Yeah.
And so they're still held by the federal licensure. And so yes, if you're a bus driver and you are caught with marijuana or have marijuana or whatever in your system, you lose your bus driver's license and you can't drive bus, So that's still there, but.
Good for
So anyway, it's so convoluted. All I did is I said, if anything happens, contact a lawyer on this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Because it was
It's
way too
crazy.
convoluted on
Crazy.
that, so.
Well, it's
Um,
legal.
I'm getting through this as quick as I can, I'm almost done. The next one
And
is,
they're getting more ridiculous as they go.
I didn't say, remember, this is the state
You're just
legislature
reporting.
and laws, okay? I'm just-
This is real.
Yeah.
The next one is ballot measure 101. I don't know if you remember hearing about it in the legislative session, that there was a tax created on health care benefits, okay, on the premiums that people were paying for health care benefits. Or not people, but organizations. And so that passed, and that was part of the balancing the state budget. There was a legislator that did not like that, and so they went out and got signatures to force this to be put on a ballot. The legislature heard about this, knew it was gonna happen, so they created a special session, or a special election. It's coming up in January, you should be getting your stuff here pretty quick.
That's right.
And we, and that's gonna have to be voted on by the people. Now, it's currently in place as part of our current budget for the state. Now, what this does is it taxes healthcare benefits at a rate of about $210 to $320 million bringing into the state revenue, okay? Now, in doing this, the federal government, because of this tax, I'm not sure what it relates to or whatever, they have matching funds of $630 to $960 million that they're going to give the state of Oregon with this when it comes to Medicaid and stuff. So if 101 fails, the state budget will be reduced by amount of $640 million up to $1.3 billion is what they're estimating right now, if 101 fails. 101 is being supported by OSBA, by OEA, by COSA, by all the educational agencies that I know of. They had a bunch of them listed. And they're saying, yeah, we need to vote yes on this. This is detrimental to our state if we don't have this, this tax happen. It's basically, there was a legislator that says they don't want any more taxes. There are people out there that said, no, we don't want taxes, we don't care what it's for or anything else, there should be no taxes.
And it taxes benefits?
It taxes so if the school district pays, say $1,000 for your health care benefit, a part of that now is going to be taxed of what you're getting for that health care benefit.
So the person that's receiving it is paying the tax?
No, I believe it's gonna be, have you heard, Sarah, I think it's the district that has to pay the
Okay,
tax.
because I know under Obamacare, it was gonna roll out in the
Yeah.
third or fourth year that you pay, that's part of your income, you pay
Yeah.
for that. It's
So-
on your taxes.
So
And
how
the-
is
and
the
that's a
school
total.
district that has no money in the first place gonna pay even
And-
more?
Well, and that's where the frustration comes around, is we get our money from the state to pay the healthcare benefits of our employees, but now you're gonna tax those healthcare benefits, so you're giving us money and you're taxing us on that same money.
Right.
I'm taking it
Yeah, that's
back.
where the frustration, that's why they're saying this is wrong and they don't want it. But the overall impact, when it comes down to the matching funds from the government, or from the federal government and things, the overall impact would be much greater, for what they're telling us.
And a private employer, the mill, pays their insurance, so they're gonna pay tax on the benefit they pay for their.
And I believe the answer is yes.
And if the mill doesn't cover the whole thing, then the employee has to pay the tax on the benefit that they, so the premium's $1,000 a month and the mill pays $500 and they pay $500, they're gonna pay a tax on that $500.
I would believe so, yeah. Yeah. I'd have to read the law more and find out all the details of it and stuff, but
I can't afford to live in this state anymore.
it's, yeah.
I can't,
Yeah. Last couple
Okay.
things that I've got, let's see, somebody I gave my top one to, did I?
phone system.
There we go.
photocopy.
That's the one I was looking for. So a couple things, been working on doing observations of staff, been doing that recently, just kind of give you an idea there. Vicki and I worked on, this last couple of weeks, we've been working on the kindergarten camp grant. We've got that finished up today. Thank you, Vicki, so much for all your help on that. We got that finished up this morning and we sent that off. And then I started working today on another grant. It's a $40,000 grant that will pay for, hopefully, if I get it, we'll be able to pay for students' college tuition and books. And I have limited my request down to strictly that. There are different pieces to it, and you can ask for the money to do one of the 3 different pieces, and one of them is for the tuition and fees for college. And so I'm just saying that, and I figure if we could pay for, a college class is typically about $900 to $1,000 depending on the institution. Hey, if we can pay for 40 kids, 40 credits, or 40 classes for them, that's money in their pocket, so. I'm applying for that one, and waiting for one piece of information, and then I'll be able to send that in. Have you noticed we have new phones?
Yes.
Dale, how are they working? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, really good.
Nice,
Good.
yeah.
All right, so we got the new phone systems. So far, ladies, any issues or anything? I mean, they're all seem to be working good. I don't think anybody likes the ringtone.
No.
No, it's very distant. It reminds me of a doctor's office.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, nobody likes the ringtone, so, but hey, we'll get used to it after, another 15 years, it'll be fine. And then the last thing on my list is, just so you're aware, we have been fighting since July with issues with our photocopier in this building. It's been broken down, busted down, they try to fix it, it doesn't get fixed, they get parts and they try to fix it again, it works for 2 weeks and then it's broken again. And then they're telling Debbie one thing and then they're doing something else and they're ordering some other part. It's been a disaster since July, or for the end of June. And so I contacted the OSBA lawyer, I sent our contract to them, I sent Debbie's documentation of all the issues that we've been having. She's been doing a fantastic job of logging everything that went on. Sent that to the lawyer, and she says we have a case for just doing the 30-day notice of cancellation of our lease with the company. And then if the company accepts it and says, yeah, okay, you're right, yeah, we've broke the lease, then we'll be let out of the lease and we can go on to another company. And if they don't let us out of the lease, we're still gonna hold that same 30-day notice, and we're going to just buy ourselves out of the lease, and it would be about $2,700. And because of all the issues that we've been having, the RICO is issuing us a refund on part of our, what was it, maintenance fee.
Yeah, maintenance agreement.
A maintenance agreement, which is in the tune of about $1,700. And so we said for $1,000, we're happy to get out of it. And we've already talked to Canon, and Canon is who District 7 goes with. And they've got a bunch of new machines, and they're having fantastic service. In fact, a bunch of RICO's maintenance people jumped ship and went to Canon, some of their best people. So
Is that recently? Because I know Emma was
that's
cursing
what,
that
6 months?
a while ago. It was quite a while ago.
Yeah, because it
When
was
they
in
got their
summer.
new machines in June,
Yeah,
Okay.
it was over the
Yeah.
summer.
Okay.
all the cannons.
Yeah.
I mean,
So anyway, so we're in the middle of that going on, and Canon has even said that if we can get it down to the $2,700, that they'll pay our fee
Oh, wow.
and bring us new machines. So,
What brand are we using now?
RICO's. Yeah. So, and we talked to, Debbie and I talked to the RICO gentleman this morning, in charge of Oregon sales or something. And he said that they've had a lot of internal turmoil lately, and he said, I know that's not your problem, but, we're
Just
sorry.
acknowledge it.
Yeah, so, but we'll see where they go with it. He's going to turn my letter and documentation over to their lawyers, and then we'll see where we're at. Our lawyer said, yeah, you got a good case. She goes, they may or may not do it.
Yeah.
She goes, it's not something you're gonna fight, but if they go with it, you're okay, so.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done. Did I do it in 10 minutes?
No.
Oh, got it. So any questions on any of all that? Sorry about being so long.
Are you awake, Dale?
There's a lot going on this last month.
Okay, first reading of the policies. Debbie, you wanna tell us about these? Or, I mean, the first one is, I see it's required.
Are we doing
Or, sir.
the first readings?
First readings? Don't we go through the first readings, or if we want, yeah, because we have to do the corrections and stuff.
Yeah.
Look good to me, and I like the verbiage. What is the second one under here? All new hirees. This is, gee, they're the same, adopted 213, 419. Oh, so is this one replacing this one? Oh, deleted, hello. Thank you. That's, you don't have to explain anything, and I just gotta learn to read. That's what I was asking, because I didn't understand what we had to.
Yeah.
Didn't see the deleted custom. Okay, on to the next one.
You do need to, on the first one.
Uh-huh.
There's some mays, will not, may, will not, you'll need to decide.
Oh, that's why there are two colors.
Will not be
I was
employed.
thinking, oh, maybe we already did
Yeah,
that.
no, I like the one where she typed in will not in the dark, and that's why I was just commenting. I like it where she bolded that, because that's the verbiage instead of may, yeah.
So you choose which one you want.
Now, on that, on this one, on number 4,
Mhm.
we just need to remove the brackets. I recommend that we keep that statement in there. You have the choice of removing it, but I would recommend it. Because we don't want to have anybody who has direct unsupervised contact with students
No.
not being,
Right.
getting background checked.
Mhm.
The other one is, the next one, or the second to last paragraph there, says the subject individual has failed to disclose the presence of convictions that would not otherwise prohibit his or her employment with ESD as provided by law, and then you have may or will not be employed or contracted by the ESD. My suggestion would be to go with the may,
Mhm.
and my reasoning for that is that if I was to do a background check on John, and John put down all the things that he did in his bad past and things like that, and I did a background check on John, and I found he's got a violation of the basic rule. Back in 1998, and he didn't disclose that he got that speeding ticket. That would not constitute something I wouldn't hire him or allow him to volunteer for.
Yeah,
But yet he didn't disclose it.
right.
Yeah, at
So-
what point, you know,
Well, that's why I say it's a may. So if you had something in your background that you had abuse of an animal,
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm gonna have you work with kindergartners. They're awful close to the size of a German Shepherd. So that might be something that if you didn't disclose that, I may say, you know what? No,
Yeah.
you've got something in
Yeah.
your background that
Mhm.
we're not gonna do that.
What about the next
So-
one where it's may or will?
Again, the same type of thing, an individual who knowingly makes a false statement as to the conviction of a crime or district volunteer forms, as determined by the district, may or will result in immediate termination from the ability to volunteer for the district. And the reason I say may is because who's gonna make that determination that it was knowingly a false statement? Sorry, I forgot. I apologize, I forgot, I didn't know that was you.
Oops, sorry.
How do you know that this was a knowingly false statement?
I think it depends on the seriousness of what they forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree. And again, that's why I'm saying may versus will not.
As long as we're not saying we will hire you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is
Only a may.
I thought that there was a law passed that you couldn't ask about felony conviction on an application anymore.
This is for volunteer
Oh, right.
or a contract, meaning I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do lighting in your building, and I'm gonna be doing it when the kids are there, and I may be in a room where there's kids and nobody else is in there.
Well, this says up here, newly hired full-time or part-time employees, not requiring licensure. Okay. Still though, would be anybody that we were,
We always background check anybody that's a new.
it was a couple of years ago, I thought they were gonna change the law that you couldn't ask if they were, had been convicted. Oh, yeah.
Not for education.
It was in the state of Oregon for anybody seeking
Wow.
employment.
I hope they don't do that,
Oh,
because,
yeah,
Wouldn't
we
that be
asked,
horrible?
yeah.
yeah, because how do you, yeah, I don't, that's,
No, how do you, exactly.
Well,
They thought that it was unfair, that if you were a convicted felon
You
and you
know,
were out, you were
okay,
trying
you
to
don't have to
rebuild
tell
your
me
life.
you are not, but give me your fingerprints, cause I'm gonna know as soon as I get it.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
crazy. But then you pay the $60, right, because they aren't answering on your,
Well, let's say they disclose also got a marijuana conviction.
Mhm.
Well, it's legal now
Yeah.
right.
in Oregon. Does it count?
depends on what you're working.
And if they say, well, I didn't write it down because it's not illegal.
Did you get federal or state funds in your program? It's illegal.
I don't know that I'd wanna work with somebody that.
Oh, what if you're not smoking on
Kinda
federal
logic.
time? You know, it's just.
No, you smoked just before you
complicated.
drove in
Yeah.
to work, huh?
It's complicated, it really is.
So,
Okay, and
Every
then,
question you answer, it raises another one.
yeah,
Well, I would prefer that we keep our options open. This isn't saying we have to, but it's giving us,
Yeah, the May,
yeah.
yeah.
on that one.
now, on the backside, this was gonna have some discussion.
Yeah, this is different.
I don't necessarily have a recommendation on the backside of these next two paragraphs, so I'm gonna let you guys read those and tell me what you think.
I know at the school district, the concern was because it took so long to get the reports back,
Yeah.
that, and that made me very nervous. but
yeah, it
we
did,
were-
because boy, it only takes one time.
Yeah. Oops, I can't get
What
that.
what I would suggest though is that people who don't have unsupervised direct contact,
Mhm.
that they could be employed on a probationary.
Yeah.
But people that are alone with kids, that they need someone else in the room all the time.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it really does take a long.
Well, I know, and we talked about this last year when we approved that they
It
would
was-
start before the, and we didn't like it, but it was that they were gonna
Yeah.
be supervised, so,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if it was like a drug test are less than a week turnaround.
Yeah.
But these can be a month or more.
Yeah.
And that's for the fingerprinting, it takes that long?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Now, one of the things that, in my last district I did, is there is a online program that we can get access to, being a state agency, that we can get access, and I can do a background check on anybody in about 2 minutes. About how long it takes. It's only for the state, it's not a national or anything like a fingerprint would. But it would give you that little bit of comfort, saying, okay, we've done the electronic version of the background check, and we're gonna allow you on a probationary basis to continue, but we're still gonna do the fingerprint.
Mhm.
We can do that. And that's something that's really easy to do. I don't know what the cost is, I'm gonna have to check it, I don't think
Yeah.
there's a cost.
See, and most of our employees who have contact at all with kids are licensed through TSBC.
Right.
There are only a couple who
Yeah.
are not.
And this would really be, what I'm thinking is that this would be something, I guess if the ESD was doing a field trip with kids and and somebody wanted to volunteer to assist in that field trip or something of that nature. This really, yeah, as an ESD, we really don't have any situations where we would have an immediate need to have somebody, volunteer right off the bat.
Right.
It happens quite commonly in schools because, oh, we're gonna go on a zoo trip? Oh, well, I wanna go, yeah, I'll volunteer.
Mhm.
Well, the zoo trip is in 3 days.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
not with anyone unsupervised.
Right, they're
Yeah.
not with anybody unsupervised, but you still, if you've got somebody who's got a felony in child
Oh, yeah.
molestation, I don't care if they're supervised or not,
Oh,
you're not
yeah,
going
you're
on the
not
bus.
going, yeah,
You know,
that's where
I
you
wanna
could
know-
check.
I wanna know
Well,
that
yeah,
much.
you could check that if it was in Oregon.
Yeah,
yeah.
I could check that
Yeah.
much. I
Yeah.
wouldn't get the fingerprint background, but I could check that much, and that's what we did.
Yeah,
And it worked pretty well. We felt pretty comfortable with that.
This first paragraph, the ESD shall not begin the employment of an individual or term of the contract on, it doesn't say, so this is ESD, someone working in this building that doesn't have contact with kids,
Unsupervised.
unsupervised.
And I would say, I mean, if we hired a new assistant secretary in the front office,
Yeah,
she might have access to kids. There may be a child come through, the
Uh-huh.
homeschool kid, something
Right.
of that nature. But never would there be any unsupervised.
right, so that's
So
why
I
I'm
would say, yeah, we could go ahead
clarifying.
and hire
that-
them, but
Yeah.
Right,
You
yeah,
know.
we could hire them on that.
Yeah.
And then the second one, the service of a volunteer with direct unsupervised access to students, I feel they should not begin until it's, comes back.
Oh, will not.
Yeah, will not, because they're unsupervised.
No, you're trying to.
The one that's, you know,
That's-
Right.
doesn't have direct service with kids and unsupervised, that's fine, because they're, now, yeah. And I only think of this as volunteer, like your mentoring program, if you've got a volunteer for back
So-
there, yeah, they're unsupervised.
So the
Yeah.
second one's gonna be the service of a volunteer with direct unsupervised access to students will not begin
Right.
before the return and take
Right.
out the on a probationary.
Yeah,
Okay. And the second sentence on the paragraph above, the service of a volunteer may begin on a probationary basis pending the return of that second highlighted section.
and it's under the one that they
Yeah.
have no, see, nowhere in there does it, okay.
Yeah,
If
it
it's for ESD, right,
Yeah.
you're still talking about that volunteers at ESD in this building? You don't clarify, because you, yeah. Yeah, that's
And I
fine,
guess-
but
I'm not seeing where this is exclusive to volunteers, and this just says
employees, yeah.
all newly hired full-time and part-time employees, not requiring licensure, so it's
Right,
talking about,
and
Yeah,
then
this is
but then they throw in this
volunteer.
does say
Yeah.
the service of a volunteer.
right,
It's a lot of trouble for a volunteer because you do not have to accept volunteers. You can
So-
just say you're not a volunteer anymore.
right.
We don't have a legal bind on them, and therefore, in a way, they don't have a legal bind on us.
Do we pay for their checks?
Yep.
So in the first sentence, so let's make sure we're all clear in the back page, the first sentence, the ESD shall or shall not begin the employment of an individual or terms of an ESD contractor on a probationary basis before the return of the disposition of criminal records check and/or fingerprint.
I thought that was a shall. In
Yeah,
the
that's
past, we have,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
you know, like, they needed a
Because it says
speech
ESD,
therapist.
yeah, it's
This
not
is strictly
school
ESD
district,
and
yeah.
employment.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But then-
shall,
But I think,
Yeah.
isn't it on a probationary basis
Yes.
pending?
Yeah,
I would
And
say
take
definitely.
out- And then take out
Definitely.
the before.
yeah,
Before goes away.
yeah.
Because
Well-
before kind of goes with the shall.
It's on yeah,
Well, it says
probationary.
begin the employment of an individual or terms of an education contract on a probationary basis
Okay.
pending the return,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So
so
get rid
before
of
goes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
cross out shall not and cross out before.
Okay.
All right.
Now, but you haven't
we're on.
decided on the next one yet.
Okay, now the next one, this is a volunteer.
It's the same thing if they're not in direct contact or unsupervised with kids around, I don't have a problem with that.
So you're saying it's a.
may begin
May.
Yeah.
Okay,
on
a probationary
Mhm.
basis.
basis pending the return.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, good.
Got it.
Those are so convoluted.
I know. Okay.
Next page is
And that one's deleted.
They are.
the AR at the bottom,
Mhm,
number 8.
mhm.
Any individual authorized by the ESD for volunteer service that does not have direct unsupervised contact with students, I recommend will
Yeah.
be required to undergo an Oregon criminal records check.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
any volunteer, we always want to do a background
Yeah.
records check. Okay.
Because they're still working in their area.
Yeah. On the second page, in the center there, number 1, paragraph C. We need to decide whether we want to leave in the or ability to volunteer. And my recommendation is that we would leave it.
Okay.
Second page, up at the top,
Mhm.
had to do with newly hired employees, if they've already passed one elsewhere. Is there a time limitation on those? Because if they passed criminal background check and were fingerprinted 20 years ago, do they keep going through?
The Child Care Division requires every 2 years that we go through a criminal history check. And now every time we come up, and we have to get fingerprinted every 2 years. Because anything could happen in 2 years.
Okay.
And
that-
yeah, it went from $3 to $35,
Can
yeah.
we do that?
So,
No, and actually ODE says that it's illegal for us to fingerprint somebody who's already been fingerprinted.
Yeah, the fingerprints aren't gonna change.
Teacher's
Yeah.
licensure, I have not been
Yeah.
fingerprinted for 27 years.
yeah.
But your
Is that
record would
federal
be
dollars we
updated.
get, it must be.
Right.
Yeah.
See, and we could still do the background check, but we can't do the fingerprint
Wow.
background check.
So
Well,
this
the
is
Child
just-
Care
Yeah.
Division is a
Fingerprinting is through
state,
TSPC.
This
It's
just
a
says
state
not subject to
agency, too.
fingerprinting, it doesn't say
Okay.
not subject to a background
Okay.
check.
yeah.
Number
So,
2.
I read that too.
Under number 2,
Mhm.
ESD shall maintain evidence that the employee has not resided outside the state between the 2 periods of time working.
I think it would just be a statement from the employee. I don't know how else you would
Yeah.
prove it.
Yeah, it'd be on their,
Retain records.
well, it'd be just part of their personnel file,
right?
you know.
I wanna see your, yeah, I wanna see your bills.
If you left and were
Crazy.
gone for 2 years and then wanted to come back and you said, yeah, I've been working in Salem, and you came back, versus, yeah, I was working in Mississippi and I came back, then the background check, we may want to do a background
Yeah,
check in
bigger,
Mississippi.
yeah.
Yeah, technically, I guess your license could still be valid,
Sure could,
In Oregon, yeah.
and could be, might not be.
yeah. That kind of stuff, it catches up to people. Sometimes it takes a year or two,
Mhm.
but it will catch up to people.
Well, I was just a little uncomfortable. We have to maintain
In their personnel file, though.
evidence,
Yeah.
evidence that the employee has not resided outside the state.
The only evidence you can get is by their word, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I guess,
So
yeah.
that's, and it's in their person
Okay.
record, they made the comment that they have not, or they signed that they have not.
I'd almost like to leave that out. I don't know why it would make any difference, but,
It does place the burden on us to
Yeah.
substantiate something we have no control over, or,
Yeah, I don't know that we can leave that out, because
okay,
there's no brackets around it,
Yeah.
which tells me I can't pull it out.
okay.
Would you, Debbie, do you agree? Isn't that, the brackets typically are the things we
Okay.
can manipulate.
Right.
Okay.
Well, but OSBA does say when they provide these policies that these are recommendations. and
Right.
that, you know,
And this is an
ultimately,
AR too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ARs
it
don't
is.
typically have the.
Yeah, it says required.
Yeah.
That's,
Mhm.
and that's unusual for an AR.
Yeah,
So,
all of these are required, yeah.
policies, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but not the, yeah.
That's,
They are,
that's
yeah.
kind of unusual.
Any other questions on these that anyone
we're
can
On
discuss?
C,
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's more.
just-
yeah,
Yeah.
on C
Well,
one.
yeah, I meant the, so
I'm sorry.
far. No, I
Okay.
meant where we got, so we
Okay.
could go on again, go ahead.
Okay, so 1C under notification, all employment or contract offers or the ability to volunteer are contingent upon the results of such checks. I would leave that, or the ability to volunteer in there. On the next statement, D, a refusal to consent to a required criminal records check and or fingerprinting shall result in immediate termination from employment, contract status, or the ability to volunteer at the ESD. So if you refuse to consent to it, oh, that's great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Take a walk.
Yeah,
That's my feeling.
yep.
Because if you're not willing to consent to it, then you got something to hide, and I'm not willing to,
Yeah.
I'm not willing to risk it, so.
Okay.
okay? And E, an individual determined to have knowingly made a false statement as to the conviction of any crime on ESD employment applications, contracts, ODE forms, or ESD volunteer forms, written or electronic, and I would again say may result in immediate termination from employment, contract status, or ability to volunteer at the ESD. And this is again, an individual determined to have knowingly made false statements.
Mhm.
I guess if we were to go through law and have a, a lawyer say, yeah, they lied, I don't know. What do you guys think? I
Yeah.
mean,
You-
how do you determine if somebody knowingly,
We're probably
Yeah.
not talking about littering.
Right.
It's, gee, oh, I forgot that briefcase. Damn it,
Yeah.
It kinda has.
You don't know how many
the
times
seriousness
parents
of it.
that want to volunteer or go to our state meetings, we have to do, and it was only $3, but the criminal background, is there anything? Read this list of things. Nope, I'm good. And policy council, to start, wait for that, and then it comes back, and it's, and you talk to the person and go, well, I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or, well, I didn't think it fell under one of those, what? So it,
yeah.
it happens.
I mean, you get administrators that get fired for lying on their application. We had an administrator in this county that got his certification pulled for non-disclosure of something. They're held responsible, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where do you guys wanna go? Do you wanna go with the may or the will?
Will, I'd go with will.
The may matches the policy that we
Yeah.
just talked about.
Because in the end,
I mean, if we're gonna do that,
I still think it's gonna be up to you.
So it would be May, because it's still up to him, because he's gonna know the stuff that other people don't.
Saying
Yeah.
may
I
doesn't
can live with
mean
that.
that we won't do it. It
Yeah.
just means
Yeah.
that-
it allows you to make a determination based on every single situation individually, is what it does.
And
You
it's
know.
the first sentence, determined to have knowingly made a false statement.
How do you know they did, yeah. If it's a
And
good
the thing about
employee,
it
it's
is-
not something good, but if it's a bad
If it
employee,
gets to a
it's a
point where I
great
know
way
that
to
you're
get rid of them.
bold-faced lying to me and I
Yeah.
can determine that,
Yeah.
chances are I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
You know, that's your may, no,
Yeah,
guess what, it was a may, no.
I
okay.
remember an administrator who fell for the old, those weren't my pants. But the marijuana was in. The kid was wearing those pants, but they weren't his pants. Whose pants were they? I can't tell. You know.
Oh.
Moving on.
All right, let's
Not
move on to number
not all bosses
Next.
have great judgment. They don't all have great judgment.
Oh, we tried. All right. Page 3. Oh, my goodness. If the individual is working, or excuse me, is subject to fingerprinting per state law, he or she will be required by the ESD and is responsible to report within, I think 3 days is absolutely reasonable. If they can't make it within 3 days, I'm sorry, then too bad. I mean,
Yeah.
it's important to you to volunteer, or important for you for the job. 3 days is fine.
Do they have to come to Lakeview to get them done though, from North Lake? Or is
I
it
think
just-
No. Are you
there's
talking about that field print? Or
just to get fingerprinted if you have to.
Isn't there a field office there in North Lake? A Sheriff's office?
If you
There-
can catch them.
I
I don't know.
they might have to come down here.
They might,
Or they might have to go
but within 3 days?
To Ben.
to Bend, whichever's
Or Bend,
closest, yeah.
It's important,
Mhm.
you know, it's important.
Well, as a volunteer, I'm thinking volunteer, if you're subject to fingerprinting.
It's, no matter what, they're gonna have to take time off of work, because the
Right.
police station is only gonna take fingerprints between 8 and 5.
Right.
So you can't say, well, I work all the time, I'll do it on Saturday. Well, no, you can't do it on Saturday.
I was saying for like
Yeah.
it's a day, you're gonna come
Oh,
back.
yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean,
So
finding
if they're gonna, yeah, have to take a day, they'll go up to Ben and get fingerprinted and do the grocery shopping. Come back,
I don't do them on Monday.
Yeah.
get that
They
shopping
don't do 'em on
in.
Friday.
Oh, they don't?
Yeah.
That Monday was the only day.
Okay.
And then under, is everybody okay with that,
Mhm.
3 days?
Mhm.
Okay. Stephanie, you doing?
Oh, I'm, you know,
I didn't get a
I've
nod.
lived out where you can't always make it.
We could make it 5 days. I mean, we could, if we wanted, we can change that.
You know,
So-
nobody's gonna, I would imagine if they phoned.
I mean,
and
if
said,
I called
can't
and
make
it's-
it,"
yeah.
Then,
right,
yeah,
just
that's an
get-
individual, I mean, if something came up, weather, I mean, that
Yeah.
could be a very good reason not to, but if you hold them,
We have,
then
we
you don't have so many of them
could
just
easily
saying,
make,
yeah.
we need to change it to 5 days, and then that makes it a little more reasonable.
Three's okay, I think three's okay. You know,
Or do you feel more comfortable?
Well, as long as if you can call in and say, I can't get there until
Yeah.
next week, if that's okay with you and you have the authority.
The only place where the 3 days would be a hard and fast rule is if we were doing a drug test.
Yeah,
And when you do a drug test, you have to go down within a certain amount of
Yeah.
time to get your
Yeah.
drug test.
Then we gotta
But
leave
for
it.
a
mhm,
fingerprint, your fingerprint's not gonna change in the next
Right.
15 days,
yeah.
you know, unless you're a
Yeah.
really good carver. you know.
Okay, I'm fine with that, as long as if it's a volunteer, they can call in and say, I'm gonna do it next week.
I would never discredit that, I mean, I would never have a problem with that.
Okay.
Fees, just like Sarah said, the ESD is, put the ESD on both, on that we pay that.
By the ESD,
Mhm.
Yeah,
not the individual.
right.
Okay.
And then number 2, I think we just remove number 2 completely
That's
because
fine, if we're gonna pay them.
we're gonna pay it.
Yeah.
There's no 3 days, there's no anything
Yeah.
else we need to worry about, so we just delete number 2.
You awake, Dale?
Yeah, sorta, kinda, yep.
Don't hesitate to spout off if you see something you're not liking in there.
We're almost done with the first round ones.
I just hope my battery doesn't run out on my phone, so.
Uh-oh.
Number three.
All right.
Do we have enough here if Dale's phone goes out? Or should we jump to 2?
You know, we probably should, we know what we should do is we should probably jump to 2.
We're gonna jump
And get
to
to
the
the
ones that
action.
we need to do the second
Okay.
one on, because you have to vote.
Yeah.
And the
we have to
action
vote on
items, so
those.
that if your phone goes dead.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be-
No, that's, I'm
Yeah,
glad
I-
you said something, because that's a
We're gonna
valid,
stop right where we're at, right here.
valid issue.
With these, because we want to get to the ones that need to be
Yes.
approved, and we need to get to action items, so we need Dale's approval on action items.
Yeah.
So
Here we are.
let's jump forward.
Pause and go to the second.
Second,
reading.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll pause there,
Okay.
those second readings.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
AC, non-discrimination.
And these are all the second readings,
Yeah,
so unless you
that's
guys
what we
found
changed,
things
yep.
or something else you wanna, see, we made the changes.
Yep,
that
you
were
made the
suggested last
change
time.
in yellow. Does everyone look good with that?
I'm okay.
Okay,
The notes?
so the AR from the next one.
Yeah.
The only change I have on the AR
Mhm.
is on step 3, remove the brackets around the number 10.
Yeah. Okay. Public participation in board meetings. We'd love to have community members. And on the back, comments regarding those additions we had or add. Do those look good to you guys?
Yeah.
Public part, oh, this is intent to speak.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right,
Right.
yes. Okay. The,
And remember we changed the intent to speak part at the bottom, I like that a lot better.
Yes.
It's just very
Yeah.
simple.
yeah,
I like this one.
Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
necessary.
that one's good.
And then we put like emails optional so that, you know,
Yeah.
person doesn't wanna
Be there.
be, yeah.
Evaluations of administrators. I don't think we had any corrections on that one. I
It's
think we
just a
did.
whole new one.
Yeah,
It really
it's a
doesn't
whole new
affect
one,
because
yeah.
we don't have any administrators,
And I think
so-
we deleted the old one.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
That's the new one, yeah.
Illness injury report.
Who's our safety officer?
Pam? Oh, for here.
For here?
Okay, I thought you meant for the.
It's the
You-
three of us.
It's the three of
plus-
us, yeah,
Plus Mike Benson.
yeah. We have
So
kind
half
of
the
a team,
staff.
we have a safety officer team.
Yeah,
I think
That's
ultimately it would fall in my lap.
yeah,
I mean,
okay,
If,
okay.
if they needed one person's name, it would probably fall in my lap, which is fine.
Yeah. Okay,
I think there's the word A.
Yeah, I just marked that out.
Okay.
Needs to, by this,
Yeah.
in front of this, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Needs
good
to go
catch.
away.
Some of the timelines on injury almost, I thought were a little short. So what?
license requirements?
The only change I have on this one is third from the bottom paragraph, the bracket at the end of ESD.
Just
Oh, yeah.
that one, take it out. Yeah.
That all looks good.
Okay. Okay, so we will move down to action items. 4.1, approve budget resolutions.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions on the two resolutions? Hopefully the blurb and the little, description, more clear.
Do you have any questions, Dale?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
John or?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the resolution 1718-02 and 1718-03?
I will move that we accept the budget resolutions.
I'll second.
A motion, a second, any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approval of the second reading policies as just reviewed.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion is made,
Second.
got a second? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then sadly, 4.3, the acceptance of the resignation of Renee Price.
Might be good to read that. I think
Okay.
Renee was, made a conscious effort to write a
Yeah, I was
letter.
gonna say, is that why you
Yeah.
left it for me to read?
Yes.
I would like to inform you, dear Lake County ESD Board, I would like to inform you that I wish to retire from my position as speech and language pathologist and autism consultant on June 30th, 2018. It is with mixed feelings that I leave this position, which I've enjoyed for over 30 years. I have dedicated that time. I have decided that the time has come for me to start my retirement and spend more time with my husband, children, and beautiful grandchildren. I want to say thank you for the many opportunities you have given me to grow as a teacher and a consultant. I am also thankful for the dedicated staff that you have employed and supported. Truly, I have been blessed to teach the children of our community and county. I would be interested in helping the ESD by working part-time next year. If I can be of assistance, please let me know. Sincerely, Renee Price. And you'll let her know, right?
Yep.
Okay, do I have a motion?
With regret, I move that
Yeah.
we approve and accept the resignation and retirement. It is a resignation, right?
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
Renee Price,
I will second.
with our thanks.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
We'll tell her that everybody said no.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Everybody said no,
Say,
sorry.
before you
I'm
can
right.
retire June 2018, you have to sign a thing that you will
Yeah.
I found that.
return next year as promised in the letter.
Yeah.
Add a contingency.
Yes,
Approval.
Contract
contingency
of
plan.
servitude, you know.
Yes. Okay, back to the first reading.
Okay, so we're back on that AR 4.4 on the back page. It was GCDA and GDDA AR. Criminal records checks fingerprinting.
I got mine all screwed up. What was the other one? You did criminal check and fingerprinting. Okay.
Okay, we got it?
Yeah,
Okay, so on the back page, on 4.4, number 3, again, we are paying for these, so we don't need to hold fees or anything else. Number 3, we can delete that whole
okay.
paragraph. And then number 4, again, ESD is paying for it, so we've removed the word individual.
It's the least we can do.
No appeals. Okay.
Then on number 2, you have a may and a will. And this goes right back to that same statement of basically saying has knowingly made a false statement as to the conviction of any crime. So you either may not employ them or you will not employ them. Or
And you
will be
recommend-
terminated. This actually says they'll be terminated.
Maybe terminate, I said may.
May? Okay.
Doesn't mean there won't be, just means,
There might be some extenuating circumstance out there that you would want to keep the person.
the time it would take to prove that they knowingly did it.
Yeah, that's
I
subjective.
think you pretty much said, I think you pretty much just have to have a confession. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
and then number 4, I would suggest we just remove the brackets and keep that. Again, that's direct and supervised. If they don't have it, then they don't get to, they're
Right.
denied the ability. And number 5, I suggest we just remove the brackets also. They'll be denied the ability. And then number 6, again, remove the brackets. And then I would suggest we use the word may.
Hey guys, my phone is starting.
Okay, thanks, take care.
All right,
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Dale.
Have a great one, Dale.
You too,
Bye-bye.
Bye. I think we got everything approved, right?
Yes,
I'm glad you mentioned that.
yes, oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too, because we'd have been about right here right now.
Yeah,
We'd be like, oh,
yeah.
no!
And then that's why I looked around when he said something about his phone, I went, I don't think we have a quorum without him, so we
Yeah.
have to.
Okay.
Who's it kidding,
Evaluation.
you just want to get away
I
from the
was gonna
boring,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
What
"Ah,
are you doing now?
I'll look at them in the second
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, but we've all used that, my phone's dying.
Yeah.
I'm going through the mountains, I can't. Okay, just evaluation of staff. Very similar to what it was in the past, is basically you're using the state's guidelines and those kinds of things. The four level of performance for effectiveness.
Nothing stood out at me when I read it.
The only thing I have
Uh-huh.
is, this was obviously written by OSBA for a school, is number 6 on page 2. Evaluation and support systems established by the ESD staff must evaluate teachers on a regular cycle. We just don't do teachers, we do specialists, etc.
Right, the law says that classified staff or probationary staff have to be done annually. Contract staff is every other year. And then typically, I don't know if there's even a law about classified staff, I think, but typically they're always evaluated each year.
Well, teachers,
Yeah,
we don't, we evaluate speech therapists
and school psychologists.
and school psychs
Yeah.
and so on.
What
I don't-
other word could we use? We could use licensed
Licensed employees,
employees or licensed, Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever got in a fight.
Which is the whole
they-
purpose
they-
of a policy.
Yeah.
An attorney
Yeah.
might go, these people aren't teachers.
Yeah, what are you doing
You
now?
know,
Right.
Yeah,
And that would be a sad day when we can't evaluate our employees.
Right.
yeah.
We could say licensed employees
yeah.
Okay, licensed employees,
instead of teachers, would
Yeah.
that even
Does that
cover?
work? does that cover?
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
And, you know, I certainly agree with the spirit of the whole thing.
Right.
Yes. Good.
And you're not excluding teachers if in fact we do have
Oh,
one.
I'm checking. Classified staff's at the bottom. I knew it was there.
Oh, okay.
Where'd it go?
Where'd you see?
All classified staff employees will be formally evaluated by their immediate supervisor at least twice during their first year of employment, at least
Oh, yeah.
once each year thereafter.
Relevant information developed by.
And
Mhm.
the twice in their first year, that's very typical because you usually do a 90-day evaluation.
Mhm.
And usually that first 90-day evaluation is where it's like, sorry, you know, we're not gonna retain you.
Yeah,
You know, that's your first opportunity
Right.
to relieve them.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
so.
It's important to have that in.
Yeah, you need to have that first 90-day one.
thanks. Core
Got
teaching
teacher
standards,
throughout
deleted.
Oh,
It's always good when you delete one.
Yeah.
the-
Students with disabilities, child identification procedures.
For some reason, they added the word organ administrator rule
Research.
instead of, which is good. They're actually saying what an OAR is.
Mm-hmm.
That's good, so they're not using just acronyms. And now the new thing is regular or modified diplomas.
yeah.
Special ed.
This one here, just, you're 18, you are emancipated, you're not considered. And then the back page, it just says, rights to transfer to an adult student or their students graduates with a regular or modified diploma. Modified diploma is the same as a regular diploma in the legality of you have graduated.
Right. Special ed evaluation procedures.
Basically it says we will provide services to kids, special ed services if they are resident or non-resident student. If they're, which is what we do, we provide services to Paisley and not a private school, but
Mm-hmm.
very similar.
On one of these, maybe it was a free and appropriate public education. One of these said that we needed to provide for incarcerated. Do we have any, say, 18 to 21, like Warner Creek? That would be considered special? Would they even contact us?
I don't think they would,
Okay.
yeah, because 18 to 21, I mean, well, after this year, right?
Yeah.
After this year, we're no longer required
Till they're 21.
until
state
21
school.
if they've graduated with a modified diploma or a regular diploma.
Mhm.
But if they're modified, they're no longer eligible for the up to 21 education.
It's
So-
quite possible if they're in prison, if they didn't get a diploma.
Could be.
I would also imagine that the prison population has a higher special ed
Yeah.
population than normal.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I would
guess
be,
they handle
and
it.
I would be very surprised if they would ever reach out to a public agency
They have,
to come
They have
into the,
people in
come
there.
into the
yeah,
Yeah.
fence.
they have an on-site
Yeah.
program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
would not think that they would, we would probably be
TVCC
welcome.
is- Yeah.
Yeah.
but it said,
Yeah.
it said,
Well, I guess it's their option.
yeah.
They dump an awful lot of social stuff into our education.
Special ed free appropriate public education.
Just adding the term or modified
Modified.
diploma.
Yeah, that's
They took it out, now it's back, huh?
Yeah.
Yep, that's
Okay.
exactly it. Same thing with the AR,
Oh, yeah,
lots of
okay.
more modifieds,
Mm-hmm.
till you get down to public charter schools. So A is
Yeah,
no problem. B, no, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be an issue.
mhm. And D, yeah.
No, and I would think that they would be eager to work
Mhm.
with us.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Paisley's real good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Oh,
good
yeah,
about
they're
that.
close enough, yeah,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be.
Here's this kind of
Hey,
there.
that's all of them?
That's it.
Whew,
Wow.
we got through this late, we've been here for a while.
You've
I
been-
saw those
She's
policies.
been doling these out like little by little.
I know, but we
There's
didn't do
more to
any the
come.
last
More.
one. So
Yeah, we
she
did
said
last
we,
month, it would've been last, but last month we didn't
Yeah,
meet. so-
and then we didn't, time before meeting, they didn't bring them, or we had some, but she warned us that in October that, yeah, where they're gonna start rolling out again.
Yeah.
So, there being no other business, we are adjourned. Thank you for the cheesecake.
Yes. thank
Yeah,
you
that
for
was-
that.
Next, January is Board Appreciation Month, and so just right off the bat,
So we
say
don't
thank you
have
for
a meeting?
everything. So we're
Appreciation.
meeting in Paisley.
So you get your
And so-
cheesecake now.
You get your cheesecake now, and then in Paisley you'll get dinner, so.
Oh, okay.
But we thought it'd be,
Wow.
do something
Oh, thank you.
nicey for
That's
you
very
guys
nice.
for staff, for Board Appreciation, so,
January.
yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
What in January?
The board meeting,
Mhm.
January 23rd.
Tuesday, it's a Tuesday, because we have our budget
Yeah.
meeting.
I am
budget
in
meeting, and-
Salem all that week. So,
Yeah.
sorry guys, we can't carpool.
Ah. At least you're not driving. then.
No, I'm not carpooling.
I will be happy to drive. I can fit.
Yeah, you've got a good size, yeah.
Good for you.
Good. It's always easier to travel up in the morning by yourself.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
much more fun.
Yeah.